All right, part two, pro tip. If your computer says you're 10% or under of your battery, plug it in so you don't have to re-record any trainings. But let's get into growth marketing basics part one. So if there's anything you take away from this is understanding that in your business, there's only 4 buckets that you need to fill consistently to keep the wheel churning and growing, right? Those are awareness, leads, sales, and fulfillment. And so we'll get into more in each segment, how to expand those, right? But we're going to just kind of go over the overview over what are we trying to accomplish with our marketing to feed and make all 4 of those buckets grow so much easier. And so when we are talking about awareness, leads, sales, and fulfillment, the main thing that we need to create with our marketing to make all of those easier is having a name, face, offer association with our marketing. And if you're in person, a name, face, offer location association, meaning somebody can see your face, they instantly know your name, they know your offer, they know where you're at, and they know what you do, right? That's an association. Their brain has batched that down. It's like when you meet a friend, you know a friend. First time you don't really remember their name. Next time you remember their name. Next time you remember instantly. You see their face. You know exactly who they are. And then when you have best friends, right, all of that is batched into your brain, right? And so it's the same thing when you see somebody, let's say if I were to see a celebrity in a store like Peyton Manning, right? I feel like I know Peyton Manning, but he doesn't know me, right? And so that is what we are trying to create with our marketing, even if it's on a microcosm, right? That's the first thing we have to get out of the way to thus make everything we do with our ads, our content, fill up and be so much easier. And so let's kind of get into this in a little bit more detail. So let's get back to the 4 buckets, right? And so why I say the 4 buckets is many people, when they're thinking about growing their business, they just have this uncompartmentalized viewpoint of their whole business, right? It's just kind of this melting pot of I need some sales, I get some referrals, I kind of grow, I kind of don't, I do a lot of the fulfillment, I mainly focus on the training, whatever it is, right? If we can at least compartmentalize, right, those 4 areas, then we can start to create systems and methods of how we try to grow those buckets, right, for each of those segments. So when we go to pass them off to somebody if we're ever hiring, right, now we have systems for, hey, I need somebody to help out with leads and lead nurturing. I need somebody to help out with sales. I need somebody to help out with fulfillment. I need somebody to help out with my marketing and awareness, whatever it may be, right? So we can at least compartmentalize and not feel like I want to grow my business, but it just feels like this big, Mount Olympus to climb, right? If I can at least recognize like, well, awareness and leads is my weakest part. I need to focus on this for a little bit. Well, I have leads and sales and awareness going well, but I'm not producing sales. So I need to focus on this part. Well, I'm producing sales, but people aren't staying around for a long time. I need to focus on fulfillment, right? So we just keep blocking and tackling all 4 of those, and that's why we compartmentalize. So let's start with the first piece. People can't begin to purchase from you if they don't know who you are, where you're located, or what you do. Leads will be less engaged with your ads if they don't know who you are prior to seeing your ads. And sales will be harder if they aren't bought into you prior to ever being pitched, right? And so I see so many coaches, if you're an online coach, I see so many people trying to just go straight to cold audience. Hey, I'm looking for 5 people. It's a generic image. That's no face. Maybe it's a face, but you're kind of blurred out. You're a different color. Or I see gym people doing, copy and paste, challenges where it's like, maybe just a picture of your gym and some Canva text on top, right? All of these ads, you're making your ad a commodity, right? Because they don't have that name, face, offer association prior to seeing your ad. So let's use somebody like Alex Hormozi, for example. Alex Hormozi wins, and he does so well because there is that immediate name, face, offer association on such a wide scale, right? We're not saying we need to get to a big of audience as Alex Hormozi, but when he puts out an ad, you instantly have that trust, you have that recognition, your brain already has that batched. You're not going through the cycle of, while you're listening to that, who is this person? I don't know who they are. What do they do? What is it all about? Right? Questioning it, being skeptical, right? So the more that you can create that name, face, offer association before you ever try to get them to opt in with their information, opt in to learn more about your program, right? You will make click-through rates. You will make, meaning people who see your ad and click through, you will make that go up because you have that name, face, offer association versus somebody who doesn't, right? When they click through your your ads and you're giving them, let's say, a lead magnet to start before it's a direct offer ad, right? You will get people to actually seek out, find where it went, read through it at a much higher clip than the person, again, who has no name, face, offer association at the beginning, right? And then you'll have more people follow through, either coming to a sales call or seeing your offer letter if you're selling the DMs or coming into a consultation. You'll have much higher follow through of that person, again, if they have that name, face, offer association before you ever try to get them to a place where you can sell them, right? And so that's the main takeaway from this is we have these 4 buckets: awareness, leads, sales, and fulfillment, but all of them will be filled and so much easier to execute upon if we just focus on the one problem, which is creating name, face, offer association, of getting people to know instantly when they look at your face, they know who you are, your name, what you do, who you help, right? So everything else that I show you in ads later on, how to drive leads, it's all going to be first based around this concept of creating name, face, offer association. And so again, think of any celebrity or influencer you know well. If you saw them in a store, you feel like you know them, either they don't know you. That's the same effect we want to create, even if it's on a smaller scale to start. It will make every bucket fill up much easier. So another example would be, let's say I wanted to get better at tennis, and let's say some random tennis coach who, whatever, maybe played D1, who has no audience, right, is putting out an ad that says, I'll help you get better at tennis in the next 30 days. And Serena Williams is putting out the exact same ad, I'll help you get better in 30 days at tennis. Who am I more inclined to click into, right? I'm more inclined to click into Serena Williams because I know who she is, I know what she's done, I know the success she's had. So when I see that almost nearly identical ad where people are essentially saying the same thing, I'm going to go with the one that I have that name, face, offer association. So when every fitness coach and gym is trying to run the same challenges, right? I, come in for my, 6-month challenge at the gym. I'm looking for 5 people. If everyone's saying essentially the same thing with maybe a slightly different headline variation, it doesn't matter. That headline and everything that you do with the image and the ad that you do matters so much less when you have that name, face, offer association to begin with, right? Somebody could spend millions of dollars on an ad that looks great versus Serena Williams could just do one on a phone. And because I have that name, face, offer association, I'm still going to go with her versus the $1 million ad production, right? Because of that trust, instant recognition, knowing that the rapport, the success that they've had, I have a higher probability of succeeding when I'm getting coached by Serena Williams. And so again, I'm using all these examples to reiterate the fact that if you have a gym, you're a personal trainer, you're an online fitness coach, your first goal in your marketing is to create name, face, offer association and location association if you're in person, right? To the exact avatar that you want. And we'll get into what your avatar should look like, how to identify them, who you truly want to train, who you truly want to fill your books with, right? So you actually are every day enthusiastic about who you're coaching and what you do, right? We'll get into that later, but first you have to grasp your mind around, I'm not just going straight to, I want sales now. How can I put an ad that gets people to just purchase right away? Is it the way I'm running ads? Is it how I'm running ads? Is it the campaign type? Is it all of that? No. Everything will be so much more successful if you can create that name, face, offer association. So a prime example was Alex Hormozi had a $100 million offer thing with his book launch. He had Alex Becker on, who's the owner of ROAS, and they were doing fan questions. They vetted for questions that Alex could ask the certain person who was on talking. And so they asked Alex Becker, and the question was, what's the number one thing that you can do to increase your return on ad spend? And he said, unequivocally, without a doubt, to increase your return on ad spend, it's about having that rapport, trust, name, face, offer association before they ever see your ad. And that's why Alex Hormozi's ads win and convert and have a higher return on ad spend than anyone else's, is because of all that brand reputation, rapport, trust that is built up prior to ever seeing the ad, right? When Alex is giving you all this, he comes out with an offer. Wow, let me click into it. I'm going to be so much more inclined because I know who he is. I don't have to now take the time to figure out who is this person and so on and so forth. So that's the number one concept that you need to start thinking about. How do I create this, right? So then if we do that, now we need to fill up our net with fish that know who you are before they ever hit a point where they are looking to purchase a product similar to yours, right? Because if you don't do that, you commoditize yourself. So I'm going to use an example of the jiu-jitsu gym I went to. So for a long time, multiple years, I was like, I need to do jiu-jitsu. My buddy keeps harping me, says, I need to do it. I'm going to love it. We used to own a gym. Now that we didn't have the gym, we're missing that community piece. I know jiu-jitsu would probably have a high probability of providing that as well. And so I went 2-3 years, right, of, kind of knowing that I had a problem, lacking community, also wanted to get better at jiu-jitsu, right? Do something that like is actually physically rewarding or actually has purpose behind it, right? And then when I finally reached the conclusion that I was going to purchase the product, all I did was I Googled the closest ones to me, and I went to the first closest one that I saw. There was one like 2 more minutes down the road. I could have went to that one, but because nobody hit me with any marketing to show me how cool their gym is, how good their community is, how precise and all of that, because they didn't hit me with that marketing prior, right? They all commoditized themselves of waiting until I had reached the conclusion on my own to purchase the product without them ever having any marketing to influence me to purchase the product. That gym down the road could have hit me with marketing prior, could have probably gotten me in prior. I probably would have gone to them first, even though it's just 2 minutes further, because I had that established relationship, that name, face, offer association, who they are. It looks so good. I got to try this one out first because I know them. I am aware of them, right? And so it's the same thing for us. We don't want to wait for people only to get to product purchase now conclusion on their own, right? So every business has people in one of these 4 stages. They're not problem aware. They become problem aware that they have a problem. They are looking for a solution to the problem, and then they find a product that offers the solution that they concluded is the solution they need, and it's going to take them there, right? And so at every moment with our marketing, with our ads, what we're going to try to do is continue to build people in all 3 of these buckets to ascend to product purchase now mode, right? So I can either ascend them earlier to product purchase now mode, or I can have them so convinced that we are the only solution for them. Our method is what they need to do when they eventually reach the conclusion on their own that they are going to purchase a similar product, right? So let's use ours for example. So again, statement here, the people and businesses who can build up their net bigger and bigger with people being ascended to becoming product aware, the easier sale will become, right? And so let's say problem aware. So I'm going to walk you through how we got people to be convinced, whether we convinced them to become product purchase now mode or they eventually became product purchase now mode, how we distinguished ourselves from other people and we're not a commodity. So first was ascending people to problem aware. Hey, did you know you have a weight regain problem, not a weight loss problem, right? Most people have never heard that before, right? They always think I need to lose the weight. But then you get them to sit there and realize, wow, I actually do lose the weight every time, but I regain it. So the problem isn't actually losing the weight. The problem is actually regaining the weight, right? Then we get them to see their problem in a different way. So we become a market of one, right? Now the solution, the reason you have a weight regain problem is because no one has showed you how to come out of a diet correctly. Now they have that aha moment, that epiphany. Now the logical brain is like, oh, wow, that makes so much sense. Nobody's ever said it like that. So when they ever decide that they're going to go back and look for a product, right, they are not going to fall or allow us to be commoditized to businesses that are just saying they're going to help them lose weight, right? Well, I don't have a weight loss problem. I actually have a weight regain problem. So I'm looking for the solution, the product that actually walks me through this process of learning how to come out of a diet correctly, right? So then if I can get them hooked with my marketing, let's say it's short form content, reels, stories, whatever it is, live videos, right? Did you know you have a weight regain problem, not a weight loss problem? The reason you have a weight regain problem is because no one has showed you to come out of a diet correctly, right? If I can get them sold on those 2 brief statements, now I can get them so much more inclined to want to go and listen to for us, it's a podcast VSL series, right? I can get them not only much more inclined to want to listen to it, but actually follow through because I convinced them on these 2 things, becoming problem aware of a new problem they didn't know they had, and solution aware of how to actually do it, which nobody else is saying, right? Everyone's talking about losing weight with keto. I'm talking about how to weight regain, right? Then on my podcast episode, my VSL, I'm walking them through the 3 phases to losing weight and keeping it off while eating more food, right? But within that, I am not spending 90%, 95% of that episode on convincing them on my 3 phases of getting to this place, aka my method. I'm spending 95% of that episode convincing them and selling them on the method to permanently lose weight, right? I'm not selling them on the intricacies of my program and how exactly we do nutrition. I am selling them, hey, at first you need to learn where your metabolic rate is, because if we don't know that, then we don't know how much more food we're going to be able to eat to maintain, right? But once we know your metabolic rate is, then we know exactly how much we need to be eating to lose the weight, right? Now, what's cool is within that, if we know exactly how much our body needs to expend to lose weight, right, then we can fill it with all the foods that our family already has built habits around, our staple foods, our staple meals that are easy and convenient for us and everyone likes, right? I can also fit in that all the places I tend to go and splurge and enjoy. I will help you find better success, right? If I'm not trying to get you to rework your whole family's eating behaviors and patterns, or trying to get you to eat some paleo, food restrictive meal while cooking different meals for somebody else, right? All I'm helping you change is the amounts within all of these for your exact metabolic needs to lose, right? But then since we found your metabolic rate, now we know how much food we're going to be able to eat to maintain that new composition, right? So then once we know the signals of when your body's starting to slow up, it's not losing weight as fast, now we actually come out of a diet and eat more food, which nobody's ever shown you how to do. That makes so much sense. I didn't know that there was 3 ways of eating: overeating, undereating, but then eating about as much as my body expends, right? And then the last thing is getting them to understand that you need to be training to build, not training to burn, right? So then I'm convincing them that strength training is actually going to be the number one thing that allows them to not only lose the weight, but get to the other side, have a faster metabolic rate, be able to be upright for life. Every pound of lean body mass you gain 7 to 13 kilocalories to your metabolic rate, right? So I'm getting them to hear things in all new lights. If I can convince them in that episode that you need to walk through these 3 phases, if I've done a good job, that this is what you have to do to get to a place of permanence and be the person you want to be, right? Now, the next logical conclusion is to purchase your product. And even if they're not going to purchase it now, I have now made us anchored in their mind, right? That we are the solution that they are going to go after once they actually reach that conclusion. Maybe it's they see themselves in a picture. Maybe it's they went to the pool first time that summer. You know what? I got to go and work with Haley. Haley's my wife, right? We're the face of our fitness business, right? And so that's how we create this market of one. We create this name face offer association so that when either we help them get to product purchase now mode or they come back later, we are the only logical solution for them. So 95% of your marketing should be focused on selling people on your method, because when they wholeheartedly believe your solution is the only cure for their problem, the next logical step is to buy, right? And so when I say selling the method should be selling them on what they want, not what you want or what you value, right? And so we need to sell them on what they are valuing and meet them where they're at. So let's say they need to be more confident, feel more energetic, be able to play with their kids, doing what they love to do now, or doing what activities they love to do for life, right? Now my job is to show them how these steps in my method, right, are going to be what allows them to get there and be this person for their kids, feel more energetic, do the things that they love, versus I could get into that podcast series and I could talk about the intricacies of how perfect our nutrition training is, right? If you are speaking a lot of technobabble that people don't understand, they're not going to get bought into your method. So you can't be talking about what you're excited about now, what you're super passionate about right now, and what you're valuing, right? Let's say it's how good the gym equipment is at a gym, right? That might work for somebody like me who's fit and I understand what gym equipment brands are and I value having the higher quality one, and I come in, I'm like, oh, you got that machine that I like to train? Perfect. This has everything I like to train. I've already reached that place of conclusion that I like these things. But the problem is I'm not your ideal avatar that you want to sell, right? Versus somebody comes into your gym or somebody hops on a sales call, right? If I spend 90% of our conversation talking about, hey, what would you like to accomplish? What's your goal, right? I want to lose weight. Well, why would you like to lose weight? I want to be more confident. Why do you feel like you want to be more confident? I want to be more confident so I can show my daughter what it's like to be a confident woman, right? Cool. Awesome. That deep pain point. Hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, because ultimately at the end of the day, like if you don't do these things, or if you try to go do it this other way where you're food restrictive, you've already told me that hasn't worked for you multiple times. We're going to do it this way. So it solves this problem, right? I break you out of that fail cycle loop. And if I can break you out of that fail cycle loop, right, that's my job. Then you'll become that confident person, right? So I'm selling them on how my method breaks their, patterns of stop and start, right? I've identified, what's their kind of cycle of failure, right? Things get too restrictive, things get too complicated, workouts are too long. I have to go to the gym 6 days a week. I can't do it, right? If I can help them how we're going to break these, looping patterns of failure with my method, right? I can get them to now be convinced that, wow, I'm going to get there with this method. I really want to be this person. I really value that person versus like, hey, I'm going to get you to that place. Let's break this cycle of failure, but also like along the way, like I got this really cool gym equipment, or we do, this super nuanced thing, and you're talking about things that they don't understand. They tune you out, right? And so to sell that though, to bridge how you're going to break them from that repeating pattern of failure to getting them to what they value, their ideal self, right? You give them a little bit of a science, a little bit of a lifestyle, a little bit of a story, right? And so science would be like, hey, we're going to find exactly where your metabolic rate is. If we know where your metabolic rate is, so meaning how much energy your body expends per day, then we know exactly how much food we need to eat to lose weight consistently. But we also know how much more food we're going to be able to eat to maintain our weight loss, right? And so then, right, lifestyle. So, but what's cool is within that, we can fill it with all the foods that your family already enjoys, make it convenient, yada, 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 right? And story, right? Now I picture, I talk about a story that how it pertained to us, right? So like for me, right, I used to think like, when I was in sports science, in college, right, they were talking about fats before workouts, or, a little bit of carbs, protein before workouts, carbs, protein after workouts, then a few hours later, fats and proteins, right? All this nutrient timing stuff that was so overly complicated that if I didn't have everything planned out, I felt like I messed up, right? Versus I understood how much my body needs. I just hit these, macronutrients within this caloric allotment, right? It's so much easier, so much more convenient, right? Something like that. So at every stage when you're talking about, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of your method, a little bit of science, just enough that they understand, not super technobabble. Talk about how it displays to their lifestyle, and then bridge it, show it in action in a story, whether it's your story, a client's story, whatever it is, right? Put a little story that they can relate to, right? That shows them how you bridge the science, it creates the lifestyle, and show it in action, right? That completes the loop of them understanding why they should value that thing, that method, and how it gets them from point A to point B, right? And so an example of the level of commitment that we want to have to our method, right, is if somebody truly believed fish oil was the only way to prevent a heart attack, they thought they were going to have a heart attack, they would buy it without hesitation, right? So that's the exact level of conviction we want to have in our offer, right? So if I were convinced I was potentially going to have a heart attack and the only thing that would stop it is fish oil, that price of the fish oil wouldn't matter. It could be 150, 200, 300, I'm gonna pay it, right? Versus if I don't have any value anchor to fish oil, I'm like, oh man, people say fish oil is kind of like good for you, but like, I don't know, it's $50, right? I'm good, right? And so that's that same level of conviction is where if we can get them so bought into the method, so bought into this is the only way to become this person, into what they value, who they want to be, it's the only way that's going to get them to break that cycle of failure, right? Now the logical mind and the price point of our high ticket fitness package now goes out the window, or it is at least much easier to overcome, right? That's, if we can create that with our marketing, right, we will make, again, if we can create the name, face, offer association, we can get people all the way through to being sold so much easier. And then if I convince them in that process that my method is the only thing that's going to get them to who they want to be, not what I think they want to be or what I think is cool, right? Then the price of my product is now not being weighed with the logical mind. It is being weighed with the emotional mind, right? If I'm feeling like my life's going to die, I'm going to have a heart attack, I have to take fish oil. This is a very emotional, visceral feeling, right, that I want to solve. So the logic of what the price point of the fish oil is goes out the window. I purchase it no matter what because I'm so attached to avoiding that negative outcome, right? Or becoming the person, right? If I take the fish oil, I can be the person who sticks around and is around for my kids long term, right? Again, the fish oil is just a random example, right? And so now, building this out for you, the number one thing you have to remember is that every piece of marketing you create, your goal should be to create an emotional or visceral feeling. So think like, I want to make people laugh with this. I want to make them feel angry. I want to make them feel fear of missing out, that they're not this person, or our clients are having so much success or they aren't, or create a logical aha moment with your content, right? Wow, I didn't know that, right? That makes so much sense. I've never heard it like that. And if you can do both in one, now you're really winning, right? So again, the takeaways to wrap all this home are marketing. We need to create name, face, offer association. It'll make everything rise in our business: awareness, leads, sales, and fulfillment, right? Now, when I'm taking them on this ascension of becoming aware of who I am, I want to take them to looking at their problem in a different light. I want to show them a solution that they've never really had before, get that aha moment. That makes so much sense. And then now they're going to be so much more willing to be bought in or convinced that your method is the right thing. I sell them on the method. 90% of my marketing, my long form content, is selling them on the method of how I do things, right? And now if I get them so emotionally attached to who they want to be, and this method is the only logical conclusion that could possibly get them there, it circumnavigates every other issue they've ever had in the past, right? Now I have made it that my product and the price point is the non-relevant piece, right? I'm not trying to be super persuasive, making the selling become so much easier because they're so emotionally attached to not having a heart attack. They got to buy the fish oil, and that's your program. And so now when we're piecing it all together, when we're creating that content, the number one thing you have to remember is that every piece of marketing you create, your goal should be to create an emotional or visceral feeling, like making them laugh, creating some type of anger or sadness or some type of fear of missing out, that, where clients are succeeding, you're not, right? You're lacking the confidence, whatever it might be, right? We want to have our content, whether it's our story of a client, whatever it may be, provoke an emotion. Because think about it, every big thing that you remember in your life, especially as a childhood, it's always attached to a very visceral, emotional feeling, right? Your friend rejected you, you remember that. Or, you got super excited about a toy, you were so pumped, like you remember opening that toy. I don't know, whatever it is, right? But again, if I'm not creating that emotional piece, whether it's zombie scrolling, they're not feeling but if I can stop, interject, create that emotional feeling, right? Getting them to laugh. Now I'm starting to make it worth it in their brain to expend energy to put me into the long-term memory storage bank, right? At all points of our brain, all points of the day, our brain is batching what is important and what's not to conserve energy, right? And so if I'm not provoking emotion, I'm not telling them that their brain should spend the energy. It's worth it to create that name, face, offer association. And then the second piece of that is creating that logical aha moment. Wow, I didn't know that, right? I've never heard it explained like that. That makes so much sense. If I can create that logical brain conclusion, epiphany bridge, aha, wow, that, invigorates them. Again, that's an emotional feeling. It's an new understanding, speaking to the logical brain. They're so smart. I've never heard that before. These two things, and if I can combine them together, now I'm really winning, will make us more worth it, us more valuable in their mind to listen to what we have to say, to create that name, face, offer association, to be willing to be educated on our method, then to eventually be sold, right? And so again, wrapping all this up, we have the 4 buckets. We have awareness, leads, sales, and fulfillment. Anytime that we are trying to create marketing, we're trying to grow our company, the more people that we can create that name, face, offer association with, right, the easier all of those buckets are going to be filled, right? Now, to create that name, face, offer association with my marketing, I need to be creating things that provoke emotion, and I need to be creating a aha moment, an epiphany bridge for these people. Now, if I can do those 2 things and I start to get to name, face, offer association and location association, if I'm in person, where it's batch in their brain, they see my face, they know my name instantly, they know what I do. Now when I hit them with an ad, now they are so much more inclined to click all the way through. And now when I'm building out an audience of people that know me or creating this name, face, offer association, I want to ascend them from problem aware to solution aware to product aware. Because if I only try to get people who have already reached the conclusion that they need a change and I throw out an ad, my ad is commoditized. Other coaches are going to be saying the same thing as you. The person who has the name, face, offer association is going to win. Their ad is going to be clicked in much more frequently, like the Serena Williams, like the Alex Hormozis, right? Back to those examples, right? And then if I have now created that name, face, offer association, I'm building up people, I'm getting them to hear a problem look at their problem in a different light. I'm giving them a solution they've never heard. Now I want to send them to product aware. They're so much more willing to listen to that long form content that's doing the selling for us, right? If we're going to eventually sell in the DMs, right? Whatever it may be, right? So now when I get into selling my method, or I'm getting them to listen to that long form content, I am talking about what they value. I'm talking about how my product, my method of getting them from point A to point B circumnavigates every other issue that they've ever had before. They hear it in a new lens I've never heard anyone say, this is how you need to do it. I've never heard anyone say, you need to come out of a diet correctly. I've never heard anyone say you actually need to strength train versus doing more cardio. And if you do that, you only have to work out 2-3 days a week because you can do full body workouts in 30-40 minutes and be done, right? And then again, if I can get them bought into the method and they're so emotionally attached to the outcome and they like me and they stake their claim with their tribe, right? Now I have positioned my product as the fish oil, the only thing that's going to prevent a heart attack. Now the price of my product, the price is now totally revamped. There is no anchoring. There is the value that you're giving them. It sounds like it supersedes the price significantly versus the other way. If I'm again coming out with, I'm looking for 5 people, join my challenge. There's no name, face, offer association. I've never provoked any emotion. I've never given them any value aha moment. I've never showed them on how this circumnavigates all their issues, right? My product and the price point that I give them, right? Now the price is so much higher. Well, that fish oil, that's $200. I mean, it sounds good. Like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but I'll probably just go and try to do it myself. I'll cut out soda and beer and pizza, and I'll just try to work out a little bit more, right? Like, I think that's all right, because I haven't been told that that's not the way to do it. I've never been shown how to come out of a diet correctly, so on and so forth, right? And so if they're now bought into the method, everything else becomes so much easier. But to get them to want to be bought into the method, to make our ads convert better, name, face, offer, association first, right? And then with your business, you compartmentalize awareness, leads, sales, and fulfillment, and you can go in and tackle each one. Where are we lacking? Are we lacking in awareness? Are we lacking in leads? Are we lacking in sales? Are we lacking in people sticking around? Whatever it is, we can go and pull each lever when we compartmentalize what bucket we need to be filling in right now. So this was a little bit longer one. All of them, everything anchors back to this. This is a very important piece. If you understand this piece, watch this again. When you're in doubt, why isn't it working? Why aren't people coming in saying, I want to work with you? This is the piece that's going to change that for you. So get into the next one, and we'll talk soon.